So then my next question for you is what are your predictions for the Asian and Australian markets?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that question. I think what I'm going to do is probably start referring to some grassroots and some trends that we already see, and then extrapolate that forward. Firstly, I think the first market I probably want to talk to is Australia market. So it's a market that has grown quite rapidly even during the pandemic, mainly because of repatriation flights. There's a large Indian diaspora in Australia, and so during COVID, they needed to travel to India for various reasons, or to attend a funeral, or a wedding or something like that. So there was a lot of direct flights at that time, which even post-pandemic is showing a resilience. So we've seen, for example, Qantas flying into South India from Australia, something that they've never done before. We've seen, Air India continue their flights. The other thing, just to give you some background, is you can see international students. A lot of Indian international students are coming to Australia, so that will sustain traffic going forward, and then the benefit associated with that. Obviously, a lot of resource exports from Australia to India, and then also some element of repivoting from China to India. It's more geopolitical, I would say. So again, a lot of reasons for India Australia to go quite strong going forward. Second one to talk to would be Australia Japan. So it's a market that's very highly valued by the Japanese government because Australians are high spending tourists per capita. Also, there's a lot of affinities between Japan and Australia, both economically, politically, and so forth. So, had a very strong uptake going to COVID. So, I think we will re-establish that and go forward. I think so. Fundamentals are really strong. I think the reality is probably not as strong as fundamentals at the moment. So, example is Qantas flying 4 times a week from Brisbane to Haneda, 3 or 4 times. Pre-COVID they were daily. So, and they haven't filled all their seats even on less flights. Of course, be worthwhile to look at the financials to see, is it a yield management play rather than trying to maximise the load factor. So therefore, something worth looking into. But really, the message for other airlines is that if you're getting really high yields from Australia, then we can see other airlines wanting to expand in the Australia-Japan market. Could be indirectly via Southeast Asia or directly. Last one to talk through is just in passing since Australia to the United States, being very, very strong. It was strong pre-COVID. I think, once you see more wide-body aircraft coming online, we'd expect more routes to happen that side.
So electrification and net zero are very hot topics for the industry.
Absolutely.
How do you think they will impact route planning going forward?
Yeah, I think definitely it's probably a longer term play, and so my underlying assumptions is that we will get to net zero 2050, and so if enough countries adopt net zero, then that's where that will trigger the changes in the type of aircraft as well as the routes. So the summary basically is that you start to see the aircraft segment itself into 3 segments. So very short haul will be electric, a medium haul is probably more hydrogen, and longer haul will be SAF. So what it means is, the real difference is compared to today, where you can get the XLR flying short haul or long haul. Same with the 787s flying short haul and long haul. You start having a segmentation where you get electric aircraft feeding into hubs potentially, and same with hydrogen aircraft. And then you have the intercontinental aircraft because by nature they have to be long haul, like Australia to the United States, Australia to South America. Australia to Japan to some degree, I mean that's probably more medium haul depending how you look at it. That's probably more where the SAF aircraft will come in. And one assumption, I mean we'll see, will pan out between now and 2050, is that if SAF becomes short supply or is very, very expensive, then you see a very much a premium on these long haul flights. So therefore, one option, and again, depending on airlines and airports and the supply chains into the different airports for the different fuels, is have the airports close at the edge of the continent. They could be your gateway airports. So hypothetically, say Australia to United States, you could do Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane into Los Angeles. So one option is if you're trying to minimise the long haul component, you have all the aircraft funneling to Brisbane, and then you have a SAF flight from Brisbane to Los Angeles. It's just to optimise the mix between the fuel and the cost of that aircraft. Again, it's a little bit crystal ball, but I'm trying to explain why that could be the case.
Yeah, someone on a panel earlier said that hydrogen aircraft won't be ready until like 2040, and it would only be for journeys less than 1,500 kilometres.
Yes.
It's very short.
It is very, very short.
So that's not even medium haul, I don't think. Would it be?
Yeah. I suppose my
it's all
take
different
on it,
predictions.
It is. I think my take on it is that unless you get a redesign in the aircraft, because hydrogen's very bulky, it takes a lot of space. You almost need to see new aircraft that takes advantage of that. And if that happens, which I know Boeing and Airbus are already working on it, then we would expect hydrogen aircraft to take longer distances than what you said. But then they still won't be able to fly Brisbane to Los Angeles, for example. And that's where eventually SAF will come in.
Do you know if Australia is investing in SAF production plants at all?
Yeah, I think Australia's natural advantages is green hydrogen, so solar powered hydrogen.
Of course.
So we've got a lot of land, unlike Singapore, for example. We have a lot of land, we have a lot of sun. It's not very cloudy. If that actually works, I mean it does work. It's just if that's economic, really. Then Australia could be a hydrogen powerhouse, and so therefore the message for airports is for Brisbane Airport or Cairns Airport, if they get that supply chain right, then they can position themselves as an advantage over our other airports, or over Sydney or Melbourne, for example. But I'm sure Sydney and Melbourne would be already looking into that, but potentially an interview with them.